I sat down with Thomas Hazel, the founder of ChaosSearch, to talk a little bit about how they do what they do, and of course, what that is. Here's our conversation. Tom, what is ChaosSearch?
ChaosSearch is a new idea that leverages cloud object storage to do analytics directly on where you store your data. It's a new data platform that supports terabyte, petabyte analytical scale. We're going to market after log analytics, where we publish the Elastic API and we built in the open distro Kibana visualization layer. And the idea behind Chaos was, what if you could transform the customer's S3 cloud storage into an analytical database and go after use cases like log analytics? So the idea is you simply put data in and you get the insights out via your favorite APIs, Elasticsearch, and your favorite visualization, Kibana.
Where does this data actually live? I'm going to assume, given that this is the terrible year of our Lord 2020, that you're not running a pile of data centers somewhere. Where does this customer's data wind up residing?
Great question. So the customer owns their data. It's in their S3 account. So let's say you have US East 1, US West 2, or EU West 1. Wherever you put your data, ChaosSearch, you provide a read-only roll-on access to that account, and we allocate compute to discover it, to index it, ultimately to write these indices back into that region. And so all future queries or visualizations are on that data. So all this data that you store in your S3 resides into your account in your region.
How do you wind up leveraging S3 services in order to deliver happiness, joy, or at least log analytics to your customers?
No, I love it. What we spent 5 years building out was a new index technology, a new architecture that allowed you to get high performance analytics on your cloud object storage. So most often when people think of cloud object storage like S3, they store data in temporary, maybe archival, and they move it out to some analytical database like Elasticsearch and a cluster, and the data stored in SSDs. With ChaosSearch, the idea is that you dump it in there, you connect to us, and then this unique technology we create, this new index technology, new architecture, makes S3 ultra hot, ultra performant, such that all these future searches and queries are directly on these indices in your account. We don't cache the data. We don't put it into SSDs or HDDs to make it performant. We've actually cracked that code of how to make S3 high performance.
So you obviously had a choice of different directions that you could have gone in. You could have built this on GCP. You could have built this on Azure. You could have lost a bet and built this on top of IBM Cloud. Instead, you chose AWS. Why?
Well, Amazon, right? S3 is just, there's now, I don't know how many exabytes are in S3, but everyone's dumping their data into cloud storage like S3. Amazon services naturally move data there. It was the natural starting point for ChaosSearch, was that everybody was storing data in there, whether it was naturally because of web services or just a temporary storage. And so for us, Amazon was just a clear winner, clear favorite. There was no other cloud provider that we were going to go to first. And the thought was that go with where everyone's dumping data. All data roads lead to S3, seems like today.
Amazon has 200 or so excellent services, and also Amazon Elasticsearch. Why would someone pick ChaosSearch over using any of those other services, regardless of their relative quality to one another?
No, it's a good question. I mean, Elastic and the Elk Stack is a really good product. The problem with it is, as you start scaling up your data size, as you increase your volume, it really gets complicated to manage. It gets costly at that scale. And so anyone that's doing a terabyte of data ingestion and up, needing weeks, months of retention, ChaosSearch is a really unique platform. Why? Because we're so cost effective, where the idea that you don't worry about managing the cluster, managing the schema, managing the scale out, we take over. So anyone going after the Elastic use case in the log analytics, ChaosSearch is a wonderful solution because of the time, cost, and complexity reduction. And again, we're really disruptive in that space with respect to the cost, but the scale. We have customers that have indices in the trillions of events. petabytes of data. If anyone's, and you know, I know you know this, managing elk at that scale, it can fall over. And imagine rebuilding your cluster at that scale. With our solution, you start at a terabyte per day, and you can elastically scale up to 50 terabytes per day without doing anything.
Well, that leads to an interesting question. I know that S3 does not have an upper bound as far as how much storage you can put in it. I asked a product manager over there once whether it would be possible for me to fill S3 in a region, and they laughed at me and like, there's no way in the world you'd be able to. And right about that far into the sentence, they remembered who they were speaking to. And why do you ask was their immediate question, which is a good question to ask because it wasn't my bill that I was worried about. It's someone else's. So it turns out that it is only theoretically possible. No one has ever been able to pull it off. If you're looking for a challenge, go for it. But at what point does ChaosSearch fall down? At what point is there too much data for it to effectively analyze?
Well, let me give props to cloud storage in general, the design. It's a naturally scalable solution. I mean, I don't know how much data. I wish Amazon would publish how much data they store in S3, let alone the number of objects, but I can't even fathom it. But because of its design, its architecture, you can dump so much data into us. And again, our magic was to transform that into an analytical database. I would say where we fall over, I don't know, we haven't hit that scale limit. I mean, we deal with some pretty big customers where, terabytes and petabytes type scale. I mean, we're not a transactional database. We're really after analytics. But because S3 is so scalable, I would argue our limits are based on the S3's capability to store the data. We have not put S3 to its knees yet, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a limit. I'm sure there's a limit with our solution, but being backed by Cloud Storage and S3, we haven't seen it yet. So S3 is a good choice.
So talk me through a little bit about how this data looks on S3. I had a customer once that had a few hundred terabytes in a bucket, nothing particularly massive there, until you looked at the object count, and it was on the order of approaching 300 billion tiny objects, which means that if you do an AWS S3 list, it will finish listing all the objects in that bucket only 3 weeks before the Earth crashes into the sun. How does this data live in an S3 bucket? Is that something that ChaosSearch decides? Is it something the customer decides? What's the story?
So we have three modes of indexing the data. We have static, to your point about data already existing, or we say live, where you use SQS notifying us that there's some new data there, or real time, where you send data direct to us via the, say, Elastic API and write the indices in your account. Any three of these modes, we take all that information, whether it's 100 objects or 1 billion objects, and we compress it and put this in this unique index so that every get to S3 is a bulk get, but highly performant. So the idea is that we discover it, we do the listing that once. So if you have, a billion things, we'll list it incrementally, but we'll put that billion into, a very small index so that it's only one get read, such that your queries are resolved. So we transform that, infinite number of gets, infinite number of lists into ultimately a highly optimized request to S3.
How do customers get their data into ChaosSearch in the first place? Everything generates data. In fact, the whole lie of data science is that one day all of this data will be valuable. And then you look at your 3 petabytes of load balancer health checks in your Apache logs and question the theory. But everything's generating data, everything's doing it in a different way. What does it look like to generate it in a way that ChaosSearch can understand or absorb?
Good question. So there's a couple ways that people get data into S3, whether Amazon naturally stores in S3, or there's this aspect of the log elk stack where it's called Logstash, where you actually can send data directly to S3. But any combination you get into S3, what we do is, whether it's JSON, gzip JSON, naturally log type like syslogs, we can auto discover it, CSV, and we do the data discovery, the data schema detection. Ultimately, we fully index the data, so you, the customer, don't have to worry about parsing the data or normalizing the data. Our service takes care of all of that. And again, to put in these indices that are stored into your account, that ultimately any future searches or visualization is run against.
Every once in a while, you hear partners worrying about what if AWS does exactly the same thing or moves into their space. In all the time that I've spent talking to you, you've never articulated that as a concern. Where do you stand on it?
Well, we love the Amazon ecosystem. I mean, they have so many customers, so many servers that are generating data. They are in this space in the sense that you can run Elasticsearch as a service and build out that cluster. But that's where the pain begins, building out that cluster, managing that cluster, and the price of that. So unless they actually make it a Chaos Data Lake solution that it's stream in and we provide all the automation out, I welcome the competition, but there's a lot of pain and opportunity in this log analysis space. For us, we coexist because of what we're doing, the ease of use, the scale and cost reductions that we provide. For our viewpoint, it's a great ecosystem to be in, and we actually leverage the open distro from Amazon. So if you know the ELK stack or the ELK stack, Amazon's actually created a whole duplication of that stack and provided all these wonderful features that we've integrated into the Chaos product, alerting, monitoring, all these wonderful toolings that you would have to pay for, and it's not open. Amazon's opened all that, and we've integrated to our product. So to us, Amazon's been a great partner, obviously with their cloud services like S3, EC2, which we leverage heavily, and obviously our customers does as well. So to me, it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's a good one.
Where's the product going? Today, it speaks very effectively as a effectively drop-in replacement for Elasticsearch, except for the part where you haven't quite gotten full compatibility around it breaking when you need it the most. What's the future roadmap look like? What's coming?
So we are building a data platform. I know it's a four-letter word. Maybe we're building a database, but we're really building a new type of...
Oh, like Route 53.
yeah, a great service. We're building a data platform where log analytics, the ELK API and use case is what we're going after today. But in 2021, we're actually coming out with a SQL Presto dialect so that you can use log analytics on us, maybe the Athena use case, BI analytics. To us, we are a data platform. We believe that a store everything in one data lake and have multiple APIs, multiple use cases off that, add workloads within minutes at terabytes, petabyte scale is where we're going. We're even coming out with a TensorFlow integration so that you have your search, you have your SQL BI, and you actually have machine learning, because a natural act of storing a lot of data is the ability to analyze that data. What if you could index it once and not have to re-index it based on each one of these use cases? That's where ChaosSearch is going. The ability to have a real true unified data lake architecture and use your use cases as you will. The cool thing about Chaos is you index once, and we have this data refinery that you can create lenses, provide role-based access control into that data, such that maybe sales wants it this way, marketing wants it that way, product needs it another way. To us, the idea that it's a real true big scale unified solution that uses your favorite APIs, your favorite tooling.
What do you think is currently the most misunderstood aspect of ChaosSearch?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically, people think that we're just long retention, right? Where, you leverage S3, I can store lots of data and I'll use it once in a while. We are also in the real-time analysis where if you have an ELK use case and the future BI use case that has real-time aspects, we are a solution. The difference is we can scale up and scale out with the same price structure. And so our viewpoint is, don't wonder, should I index that? Should I worry about, this cost or that problem? To us, we are that replacement, not just an extension of your ELK solution. So yes, we leverage cloud over storage and we provide weeks, months, years of retention, but we are a real-time solution for your alerting, your monitoring, your visualization. We have customers that are embedding our solution and they offer it to their customer as a product. So to us, we are your complete ELK at scale log analytics solution.
Thanks for watching, and if you want more information about ChaosSearch, you can find them at chaossearch.io or ChaosSearch on Twitter.